Hi everyone. So this is another time-lapse video, and I'm kind of just jumping right into it. I did this yesterday, and I'm currently working on the highlights. This is just kind of a step I like to do right off the bat, is just map out where my highlights are. I guess what I really wanted to make this video be about is just kind of my overall process for using color pencils. I found them to be really enjoyable, so I thought it'd be a good video to kind of share what works for me in case it's helpful for other people. And just because I think there's a lot of, I don't know, artists doing art and not showing the actual process, and so I want to do my best to be really honest with everything that I do, so that's actually helpful, not just trying to make me look like I am a magical artist and create this stuff all on my own. A lot of it is more thought out than you probably realize. So for this piece, I guess just going into my process, it's really wasn't too much thought on the reference. It was just a photo I found on the Photoshop library that I thought looked really fun and pretty. I like doing portraits, so I just look for something. I like 3/4 angles for portraits because I think it gives like a good, I don't know, asymmetrical kind of look to it, but it's also like you get to see both eyes, because if you have a straight on face, it just can look a little unsettling. It's really easy for things to be off. I think this is just like a very flattering angle for a lot of people, and the shadows are also generally more interesting. And I really like the shadows that were kind of around her eyes, on that left side, in her nose. I thought it was a really pretty clean shadow that I wanted to work with. So I guess the first thing I did was find that reference. And then the second thing I did was I actually took the reference and I sketched it on my iPad. I recently purchased an iPad, and it's been kind of a game changer because it allows me to just sketch, I think, a little more constructively, because I can pull a reference and just draw, and then I can instantly kind of see and compare what's off and what's wrong, and then I can kind of adjust it, and I can keep playing with it instead of feeling guilty for erasing stuff, and it allows me to just see the lines better. So that's been really helpful. So that's what I did with this piece, is I actually drew all of this with kind of a big kind of paint marker that was in Procreate, just to make sure that I understood where all the main shapes and shades were. And then after I felt like I'm pretty confident about capturing that, then I went ahead and did this drawing just with pencil. And after I did the pencil drawing, then I took a picture of it with my iPad again and put it back into Procreate and compared it with a reference to see if I had everything correct. It was real easy because the camera is just right on the iPad, and you just take a picture, throw it into Procreate, and then you're like, take the layer and make it like opaque, and then you can kind of see through and be like, oh yeah, this eye should be a little lower. And that I actually had most of my lines correct. The only thing was off was that right eye should have been like a little lower, I think is what I ended up doing. Or a little higher, I don't remember. It was a very subtle shift, but when it comes to faces, like those little subtle shifts become super noticeable once you do all the shading. So really spending all that extra time sketching out the portrait on the iPad, making sure it was correct afterwards, it allowed me to learn kind of where I was making my mistake and then fix it. And that's just, I think that's really the best way to learn, is to quickly see where your mistakes are and fix them. So actually this is broken up into two videos because I took a break. I spent all this time working on the face and coloring it in, and I probably should start talking about the face and how I go about that. So these colors, you can kind of see these pencils, the jumble of pencils on the right. I picked them out before I even started on the project. So that's the second thing that I did. Before even starting working on this drawing, I first practiced drawing it, and then I picked the colors. And the colors were heavily influenced by that green. I really wanted that lettuce green to work, but I wanted it to not look so neon. I wanted a more warm kind of color tone. So I picked a lot of kind of like pinks, reds, and purples. A lot of purples, more than you would think. And a little bit like these orangish brown colors, which I introduced a little bit more later on. But picking out the colors, that's like the nice thing about color pencils, is you can pick out your colors ahead of time. You don't then not have to mix. You can just have that part of the process done and taken care of. So that is kind of what you're going to see on the right side, just a jumble of pencils. And besides the green, I was really excited also about that like dark purplish reddish color, which I also bought. They're both Holbein pencils, and I had never used them before, but I like them. The other pencils are Carandache, Luminance pencils, and Polychromos. I found the Polychromos, they're like the harder pencils, so they worked really well to just kind of slowly build them up and put them on the paper first, like on this toned paper that I used. And then I would just kind of go over in a different color, maybe like I said, I started with those white highlights and then I went over it in like that pink color. And that's basically what you're seeing me do in this video, is I'm just going over and over and over like the same areas until I like how it looks. Like you can see the paper like is shiny because there's so much wax buildup from the pencil. But it's the thing that's really forgiving about the pencils, is you can just keep kind of using them like paint. You just keep going over, blending them together until you're happy with them. And if there's something you're really unhappy with, you can take out an eraser and remove it and try again. And you'll see me do that a little bit. I really don't do that much, but it happens. And there you kind of just saw I like swatch out. This is like a Posca pen, and I wanted to see how well it layered. I have a few of these for some reason, but there's this really neat trick that I found where you can take the Posca pen and, you know, cover up some stuff to like lighten it up, and then you can cover it again with the pencil. It's never ending layering. And yeah, I was just kind of playing around with adding those highlights on her nose, on her cheek, her lips. Highlights are one of those things that if you do them right, they look so good, but you can so easily overdo them because you'll do them and you'll get excited about how good they look and want to do more of them, and so it requires some restraint. Something I think I'm still learning and developing. But unfortunately, I think some of this video, the bottom part is kind of cut off because I didn't know that I was cutting it off. I was just drawing when I made this. So the bottom part, which I did a lot of like white line work, is just, you're not going to see that unless you see the picture, unfortunately. But you can just trust that I'm doing it. A lot of it, like, I just went over in that Posca pen. And one of the ways, like, I like to do my style is I like to go really loose with the fabric and the details. I don't like to make them real exact and clean, because I find that kind of boring. I think there's something really fun and cool about having her face being very realistic and hyper-focused, and having everything else just like a little bit more illustrative looking. I think it's fun. You can see like at one point that corner is just coming up pretty bad. And so I took a clip and clipped the corner, and that actually helped quite a bit. And then I just went over like some little feathers and details with the white and went over some of them again with like brown to like melt them in. I actually did bring out like a gold marker at one point. I forgot I did that. It is so subtle. I did it only in like a few places because she had some gold hardware in her hair. And yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, was kind of intuitive about it. Decided, yeah, maybe you need something here and there, and was listening to music. And I just kind of had fun with it. You know, I did the hard part, which was the face, so I could just kind of play around with her hair and see what worked. I wanted to do kind of like this mix of having her hair, I guess, have a little bit of shine to it, but also have some stuff in it. So, I don't know. Let's add in some pink shadows for the hair and the flowers. And I was also going over the white again, kind of like that trick I was saying before. I'd put the white Posca pen down and then go over it with a pencil, and it would kind of lighten it up. And that was something I found was really fun to do with the hair, actually. I think I'm about to do it, but I just decided that I wanted like a little bit more shine in the hair, so I went over it in the white Posca, and then I went over it in a lighter pencil, and it really made it pop. And so that's like it's a really neat trick that I recommend if you're using, there it is. You can see how I'm going over it. I have to let it dry for a little bit because otherwise it just smears everywhere. But once it dries, I just go over it and you see it's a very subtle difference, but it allows just that subtle pop of hair. And I kind of did the same thing with the silk flowers and leaves that are in her hair. I just wanted, you know, to control some of it being brighter, some of it being greener, some of it being darker by going over it a few times. And I thought it gave a really cool effect. So yeah, this is it. This is the piece. Thank you for watching. And I'll do more next time.